topic 5.16 relates to another form of obtaining seafood and fish and shellfish. That's called aquaculture. Aquaculture is basically agriculture, but of fish species and also sometimes shellfish and other seafood. And so aquaculture is raising these organisms in controlled conditions or in indoor pools of water. It can be in outdoor areas within the open ocean in nets. But aquaculture is becoming more and more common, and around the world we are getting more and more of our sea-based protein from aquaculture. And so aquaculture can have positive effects in that fish are not being harvested from wild fisheries. They're being harvested from controlled aquaculture operations. Conditions can be controlled, but there are also some negative consequences that can come about from these aquaculture operations. One impact is waste. So these aquaculture operations, fish are grown inside, like I said, in indoor areas, in these pools, in large population densities, or outdoor in the ocean, but contained within enclosures, mostly netting. And so when you have fish that are being held in very high populations, they produce a lot of waste, almost like we imagine a CAFO waste lagoon. Okay, and in indoor situations such as this, the waste products can be managed in a way that is less damaging, but the waste is still being generated. In open ocean aquaculture operations, that waste product just diffuses into the open ocean, and that fish waste has high levels of nutrients, which can lead to algae blooms and dead zones like we've talked about with agricultural fertilizer waste. The same is basically happening with these aquaculture operations. If fish escape from these aquaculture operations, they can then outcompete. Many times these fish are varieties of fish that grow very fast, grow very large, are hardy, disease resistant. So if these fish escape into wild populations, what they can do is eventually outcompete native fish species, and that could reduce the genetic biodiversity of the native population. And the spread of disease in these highly concentrated areas can also be a problem. Oftentimes, these aquaculture operations administer, antibiotics and hormones into the pools to encourage fish growth and to reduce the spread of disease. So that can have an impact because those materials again leach into the open ocean and have effects. If non-native species are being raised for food in aquaculture operations, then again their escape can lead to a reduction in biodiversity because they can outcompete native species. Or even if they are native species, they can reduce genetic diversity because they are selectively bred to grow quickly, and that is also a problem. Another impact can be habitat use, and aquaculture, this outdoor aquaculture, especially shrimp aquaculture, is a serious danger to ecosystems, coastal ecosystems like mangroves. Mangroves are the areas in the tropics where you have mangrove forest, which again provide a huge amount of ecosystem services in terms of nutrient reduction, flood reduction, storm damage, absorption, all those benefits of mangroves habitat for other species. They can be impacted because these areas where these mangrove forests grow are also often ideal spots for aquaculture operations, especially shrimp aquaculture. And so we can see in this graph some of the dangers to mangroves, some of the factors that influence the reduction of mangrove areas are shrimp aquaculture as the largest, fish aquaculture as another important one. And so those two together make up, about half of the reason for the disruption of mangrove ecosystems. But at the same time, Aquaculture does help to preserve native fisheries in some ways. It also provides large amounts of protein and income to areas which are using aquaculture to raise these animals for food.